Just days ago, Netflix released a documentary that pulls back the curtain on the final moments before Diddy's public and legal collapse. Produced by 50 Cent, the film is built from never-before-seen footage originally shot for a documentary Diddy himself abandoned as legal pressure mounted. Unveiling 10 explosive revelations that the documentary lays bare. Before the reveal, subscribe to Information Thin, share with truth seekers, and voice your shock in the comments. Exposing what they never wanted you to see. Number 1. The monster revealed. A consistent thread runs through every testimony in the film: fear. Witnesses admit they stayed silent for years, terrified of retaliation. The documentary argues that Diddy operated within an ecosystem of control, leveraging his industry power to dictate narratives, influence media, and even sway legal outcomes. It paints a picture of a man who could have been a force for mentorship and integrity, but who instead consistently chose to use people, then discard them when they were no longer useful. The film leaves viewers with a chilling conclusion. This is not a misunderstood mogul, but a calculated figure who built an empire on the backs of others and left shattered lives in his wake. Former associates describe an environment where loyalty was demanded but rarely reciprocated, where private humiliations were used as tools of control. Number 2. The Trap of Power. The documentary frames the music industry of the 2000s as a rigged game for young artists. Using Cassie's story as a focal point, it illustrates how Diddy's offer of opportunity came with unspoken, coercive terms. For an 18-year-old with dreams but few options, saying no could mean the end of a career before it began. The film argues this was not simply a choice, but a survival calculation in an industry where Diddy held the keys. This dynamic, the documentary suggests, allowed him to systematically exploit talent under the guise of mentorship and stardom. Number 3. Profiting from tragedy. In the wake of Biggie's murder, the film accuses Diddy of turning grief into a marketing strategy. His own career advanced, new artists were launched under Bad Boy, and the narrative often centered on Diddy's loss rather than the life lost. The documentary then contrasts this with intimate, disturbing footage of singer Cassie, showing her attempting to leave a hotel room while Diddy blocks the door. It portrays a pattern of controlling behavior that extended from the manipulation of a deceased legend's legacy to the alleged coercion of a living artist under his control. Number 4. A suspicious convincing. One of the documentary's most unsettling allegations concerns the events leading to Biggie's murder. Despite the heightened danger on the West Coast following Tupac's death, the film claims Diddy pressured Biggie to travel to California for promotional events. Insiders suggest Biggie was hesitant, but Diddy insisted, even canceling other appearances to extend the risky trip. After Biggie was killed, Diddy publicly stated he was merely following Biggie's lead, a version of events the documentary's sources directly contradicts, implying a deadly miscalculation or worse. The film interviews former Bad Boy employees and friends of Biggie who recall his apprehension about the trip, citing the palpable tension between East and West Coast rappers. Investigative journalists note the unusual timing and insistence of the travel plans. Number 5. The Fall Guy. The film revisits the 1999 nightclub shooting that resulted in rapper Shyne's imprisonment. It reveals that Shyne's legal team was secretly aligned with Diddy's interests, allegedly steering Shyne toward a self-defense strategy that ensured his conviction while protecting Diddy from charges. The documentary frames this as a sacrificial play. It also touches on Diddy's alleged resentment toward Biggie's singular fame, citing an instance where Diddy supposedly replaced Biggie on a Rolling Stone cover with himself, suggesting envy festered beneath the surface of their partnership. Legal analysts dissect the court transcripts and witness statements, highlighting inconsistencies that suggest a coordinated narrative to protect Diddy. Number 6. An alleged bounty. The documentary delves deeper into the allegations surrounding Tupac Shakur's murder. It features police recordings of Keefe D, who claims Diddy placed a $1 million bounty on Tupac and Suge Knight. A detective in the film states that financial records show Diddy wired $500,000 to a middleman, allegedly intended for Keffe D's crew. The film weaves together testimony from insiders describing Diddy's volatile jealousy toward Tupac, painting a picture of an obsession that may have had fatal consequences. The documentary provides historical context on the infamous East Coast-West Coast rivalry, framing it not just as a musical competition, but as a personal vendetta that spiraled out of control. Number 7. Private Contempt. Behind the charming public persona, the documentary shows a different man. In private footage, Diddy is seen complaining about feeling dirty after interacting with fans, joking about needing to scrub with boiling water and peroxide. This stark contrast between the polished celebrity and the privately disdainful individual underscores the film's theme of duality. It uses this to introduce the heavier allegation of his involvement in Tupac's death, citing Keffe D's claim that after the shooting, Diddy's only question was, "Is he dead?" Body language experts and image consultants analyzed the private footage, pointing out the disdain in his tone and expression that contrasts sharply with his public engagements. Number 8. Deadly Nang. Long before modern crowd-crush tragedies, a 1991 charity basketball game hosted by Diddy ended in disaster. Due to severe overcrowding and a lack of crowd control, 9 people were crushed to death. The documentary states that Diddy never accepted public responsibility. Instead, he reportedly transferred his assets, including Bad Boy Records, into his mother's and a friend's names, potentially shielding his wealth from lawsuits filed by the victims' families. This early incident is presented as a blueprint: ambition and image prioritized over accountability and human life. Number 9. Desperate Symbols. The documentary opens by asserting that Diddy's rise was built on the talents and sacrifices of others. From Biggie and Craig Mack to Tupac, Suge Knight, Cassie, and Kim Porter. It frames his story as one of systematic manipulation. One visually striking moment shows Diddy clutching a triquetra pendant, an occult symbol for protection. The film highlights this not as mere jewelry, but as a desperate talisman, visually reinforcing long-standing rumors about the dark undercurrents of his life and the fear that allegedly drove him as his world closed in. Number 10. The Ironic Producer. In a starkly ironic twist, the documentary was produced by 50 Cent, Diddy's longtime critic and rival. The film's most foundational revelation, however, is its source material. Hours of unreleased footage originally filmed for a documentary Diddy commissioned about himself. As arrests loomed, he abandoned the project. The unpaid videographers, holding what they deemed explosive content, eventually provided it to Netflix. The resulting film is not speculation, but a composed narrative from Diddy's own intended self-portrait, turned against him to reveal a final, unvarnished look at his crumbling empire. The documentary delves into the meta-narrative of its own creation,